Just have one each time, two at the end. Just have one each time, two at the end.
Finally, after 54 long years, we have fully restored in pristine quality the original version of the Let It Be movie. There are some very minor changes, most notably in the end credits, but otherwise it's essentially the same movie, cleaned up like having cataracts removed. What is very different is the critical reaction now and then. Back in 1970, the critics had scarcely a good word to say about the movie, with the harshest words coming from the British critics. The Sunday Telegraph commented that it is only incidentally that we glimpse anything about their real characters, the way in which music now seems to be the only unifying force holding them together, and the way Paul McCartney chatters incessantly, even when it seems none of the others are listening. Watching an institution such as the Beatles in their film Let It Be is rather like watching the Albert Hall being dismantled into a block of National Coal Board offices. Meanwhile, The Guardian called it Let It Be a bore. It's supposed to show how the Beatles work, but it doesn't. Shot without any design, clumsily edited, uninformative and naive, it would have destroyed a lesser group. The New York Times observed, "This documentary is none too artfully made. Somebody must have grabbed a camera fast, for it jerkily hovers over the Beatles playing and a film or chatting." Fast forward to 2024, and the critics are almost unanimous in their praise for the restored version. The Guardian gave Let It Be a 4-star review and commented, "Neither an overlooked masterpiece nor the disaster the Beatles and the critics thought, it's finally getting a fair shake." NME also awarded 4 stars and observed, "What Let It Be has gained through the decades through its historical weight. The sight of the Beatles playing and rehearsing together freely and candidly will never lose its window on history magic." The London Evening Standard concluded, "Let It Be is suddenly a joy. Everything is here. The love as well as the strife, the incredible detail of their songwriting, and the daftness that was intrinsic to the band and helped oil the wheels of everything. A silly sense of humour is surely a human's most underrated quality, at least when it comes to English people." The Times heralded the movie as a restored slice of pop history. The Telegraph noted that the smiles, the joking, the love and the communication are all there in the original. I won't be the only one more than happy to see it again. Indeed, over the final credits we hear a stray bit of dialogue from Lennon saying, "Let's do it again. Yes, let's." The biggest difference between now and then is the world into which Let It Be came and comes into. Due to the delayed release in 1970, some 17 months after it was filmed, what was intended as a documentary of the Beatles getting back to record, live and with no overdubs, instead became almost a wake. The movie was originally released just 1 month after news of the Beatles split had finally become public.
This story was just issued tonight, and the article published in the early editions of the Friday morning newspaper said that McCartney would announce his decision in a no-holds-barred statement tomorrow. "I have no future plans to record or appear with the Beatles again or to write any more music with John Lennon," the Mirror quoted McCartney's statement.
Somewhat erroneously, the film title was changed from the positive Get Back to the more mournful Let It Be. The world was grieving for the loss of the Beatles, and it was doubtless through this dark prism that the critics reacted. Some people undoubtedly went to see the movie to see how the Beatles broke up, but that would be entirely the wrong context. Let's not forget that after January they carried on writing, rehearsing and performing together for many more months, the fruits of their labour being the magnificent Abbey Road. Furthermore, we now all know from Peter Jackson's Get Back that these 1969 January rehearsals and the recording process were not bleak, and in many cases, especially at Savile Row, joyous. On one Sunday alone we have George and Ringo collaborating together on Octopus's Garden, then Paul bringing Heather into the studio, and the Fab Four jamming away to 50s rock and roll standards such as Kansas City, Lordy Miss Claudie, Miss Anne, and Shake, Rattle and Roll. There's a sweet moment when Johnny Yoko walks to I Me Mine, and of course there is the sheer exhilaration and joy evident on the faces of all four of them as they perform for what would be the last time publicly on the roof, reinvigorated by the presence of Billy Preston. It's truly great to have Let It Be back in our lives and finally given a fair crack, as Michael Lindsay Holt puts it. Now all we need release for final closure are the remaining 49 hours of restored footage, now gathering dust in the Apple vaults. Yes, true Beatles fans are never fully satiated.
Well, that's me finished.